Hello and welcome to the final episode of the InConversation series, Season 1 Across East Africa. I am your host, Esther Gidenji, WILDLABS East Africa Coordinator. If you are new here, InConversation is an exciting WILDLABS community-focused conversation series. For our first season, I've been speaking with Tech for Wildlife champions in the emerging conservation tech space from across East Africa, where we have discussed current, pressing topics ranging from democratizing access to Earth observation data to restoring the Mara elephant population using Coexistence tech solutions, to the ethics and conservation tech tools in human-wildlife conflict mitigation, and also how to get started in a conservation tech career. We conclude this season by delving into tech for wildlife innovation, which is a core part of conservation technology, and who better to discuss this with than my two lovely guests. Yes, you heard me right, two guests. This episode is going to be double the fun, double the insight, and double the innovation. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome, Sandra and Kathy. It's great to have you here on the final episode of our In Conversation series, season 1 that's been going across East Africa. And what a way to wrap up season 1, then talking about innovation. I know that's very familiar with the two of you. And I know, of course, we had met a couple of weeks ago at the International Women's Day event that was talking about the nexus between gender and climate, which was really great to see you in person. And so I'm very excited to have you two here. And maybe we can touch base about how you're doing. I know, Kathy, you were really looking forward to going to make a presentation abroad. And so just want to hear more about how that's been going and how planning has been going since we last spoke.
Yeah, I was preparing for this and it's going on well. We are about to submit the final paper for the presentation and I get the ticket through
Very good.
contact we met at the climate summit last year. So the trip is on. I'll be going and I look forward to a lot of interaction and a lot of learning from other cartographers and GS professionals out
I'm super excited to hear that it worked out for you. And I think we're very excited to see the pictures and the outcomes from that. So please feel free to share that and keep us in the loop once that happens. But I think I'll go ahead and start off knowing that both of you are great innovators in the tech for wildlife space and, of course, focused on different audiences. And so maybe I'll start off by asking you about your genesis story, how you got started with your innovation, what your innovation is, and maybe the why behind the purpose of setting it up. And so maybe we can start off with Sandra and letting us know what her innovation is, how she got started, and really being a pioneer in tech for wildlife innovation in Kenya.
So thank you so much, Esther, for this opportunity. Once again, my name is Sandra Maryanne, the founder of NdovuCare. So the main reason as to why I came up with NdovuCare, this is because I've been born and brought up in an area whereby we face a challenge with the elephants very much. So we've been facing the challenge for so long and we've been using the domestic ways. We've been beating drums, beating jerry cans, or we light fire. At times it's tiring. And it happens that Taita Taveta is among the corridors that the elephants use to migrate from one area to the other, perhaps in search of shelter or food. One thing about the elephants, they're very intelligent. So you have to be intelligent while working with them too. My passion for nature and the surrounding and what we've been through made me come up with this idea that is NdovuCare. So NdovuCare uses sensors, LED light, sound, and siren. So immediately the sensor senses the motion of the elephant. The LED light will light to indicate its presence. Then the siren will produce a disturbing sound to indicate that the elephants are around. Immediately that is happening, an SMS notification will be sent to the KWS and the community. So that is how NdovuCare is working. And in future, we are planning to install cameras, and this is to help in poaching, and it is also to help with recording any activity that's happening around for the purpose of the data keeping too. And we want to know how far is there an improvement that we've done in our community, since at the moment we can't harvest enough, and at times we can't even attend school. That's how threatening the elephants are. I studied in a boarding school whereby we used to have to sleep early because of the elephants, the threat of the elephants. Since our school was among the corridors that they were using, we couldn't escape. So it's for us to go to the dorms and sleep. So that has been my story. And that is why I'm so passionate about turning this idea to a real idea.
That's really great to hear, Sandra. And I think, a lot of people who are watching this might not know that you developed this when you were still in high school, which is absolutely extraordinary. And, I think it's such a great story. thinking about you developing this because it's a problem that you're seeing in your community and you taking action and saying, okay, how can we look for a solution that can help in coexistence between people and elephants? And I think that's an absolutely great story of innovation where you see a problem and you say, okay, I can innovate for this and make sure that people are safe and make sure that nature is safe. And I think that's a true story of innovation. And I'm super excited to hear that you're still developing the solution and you have new ideas and next steps on, super excited about that. And Kathy, please let us know. We love seeing your books. We've had access to some of them. I think it's very exciting that you are trying to build the next generation of young mappers. So please tell us how you got started in that and what your background was and what led you to feel like that's the next step that you want to take.
Just like Sandra, you're always inspired by your environment. In my environment, we do not have many animals, but the trees, the forests, and you see that's the home for the wildlife. I did cartography in college and I worked with the ministry, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and at some point I switched to teaching. I taught at Kenya Institute of Surveying and Mapping as an instructor and then as a technologist at NdovuCare University. There was not enough appreciation of the power of maps, how they help in the visualization. And so I thought, why not? Already with the tree planting, I had switched to working with primary school children because they're beneficiaries of what we do now. And I love the saying by Sir David Attenborough that if children don't grow up knowing about nature and appreciating it, they will not understand it. And if they don't understand it, how will they protect it? So my target has always been the young because like I do some trees, I won't eat the fruits from them. So if I don't teach them to appreciate and to understand why we are planting them, then at some point they'll cut them down and then it will be the same cycle of trying to do something and you're not completing it. So yeah, that's where it started. And now bringing maps on board because we did a project with remote sensing and research group at NdovuCare last year. We concluded this year. So what we did was using remote sensing and GIS, we showed the land cover change for part of Aberdare and part of Moringato River Basin. So we could show the children how the forest was earlier in the 90s, in the 2000s, and where we are right now. So something is happening. It's not becoming a bit green, but in between there, it was very dry and so bare. Yeah, so it's interesting how much you can do when you mix technology and what is happening on the ground.
Very exciting, very exciting. And I think your Genesis stories are very inspiring because again, you're innovating for the community, you're innovating for, the young learners, you're innovating for coexistence or restoration measures, which I think it should be the root of innovation. We should be innovating to make our world a better place and to protect and preserve our biodiversity and also make sure that the people involved are also benefiting, which I think is very inspiring. And I think maybe to touch a bit more on the tech that you're using. You're young women in East Africa, and I think it's very exciting that you're using a diversity of technology. And so just to get our viewers understanding the tech that you're using in the spaces, maybe you can describe the type of tech. Of course, in conservation tech, a diversity of technologies are used to implement conservation effort measures. And the last InConversation episode I have where I was speaking to Vanessa about how to get started in conservation technology, she mentioned that for her, the most exciting thing about conservation technology is it helps us to understand the problem better to solve it faster and more effectively. So maybe, Sandra, you can let us know about the tech you're using and maybe has it helped in it being more effective, maybe in understanding the problem better, in having a faster response? How has the tech helped logistically maybe? And maybe if we can get to the nitty-gritty of maybe the conservation part of it, how the tech is helping you, whether it's in efficiency or basically in the conservation measures that you're taking.
So when I was in high school, I got with the first prototype and it was a great challenge. First, let me start with that because I was so new to tech. And I really wanted to venture into tech. So what I did, I looked for someone who was specialized in tech to help me gather the specific the idea into one thing. So it was sensing only humans and anything that's passing. So immediately I found out that it's working. I got I was more interested into knowing what's in tech, what does tech hold. So immediately I finished high school. I joined a school that I specialized in software engineering, and I'm still passionate to still continue. This is because I want to take this idea to another level. I want to know more, and out of the little knowledge that I got from the software engineering studies, that is why I came up with the cameras. That is why I came up with the data part of the gadget, and I think it has been helpful. Yes.
That's really great. I hope everything is okay. I am hearing like a ambulance sound in the background. I hope it's not an alarm. I hope it's all
No,
good
no,
where you
no,
are.
no, no. No, due to the floods, we are facing so many challenges here. I work
Oh
in. I
no.
am also. I think. I know. At the moment, I'm working in a community, a constituency. So we have so many people who have been affected by floods. So we have people who are trying to rescue them from the Red Cross ambulances. Some people slept outside. Yeah,
Oh, that's
that's
really
why you're hearing
unfortunate.
them.
I hope you're doing well and good. I've been seeing on the news as well that there's been quite a bit of impact because of the heavy rains and the flooding, and it's unfortunate to see what's happening. But I hope you're doing good. You're safe where you are, and everything is well.
Yes, I'm very much safe. Thank you for the concern.
Good to know. So, Kathy, please let us know the tech that you're working with, to get the viewers a bit more acquainted with it and what it's actually helped you to do in terms of your conservation efforts.
Yeah, so actually, the Sandra will tell us that the siren for selling us elephants are on the move. Yeah, so with cartography, the making of maps, what we use mostly is QGIS, ArcGIS. Okay, I love QGIS because it's free. It has so many tutorials online, so it has been so easy to map. So, firstly, always the maps are you show a location and then you show all information you would want to show about that location. So breaking it down to different activities and different projects for children has been great. Because first, I needed them to understand how much they can use a map. And we started with what was familiar with them. We could draw the classroom map and then the school map, the neighborhood map. And interestingly, the fascinating part is I was working with 4-year-olds. And right now that group is in grade 5. So they're 10-year-old now. And they can actually now interpret a map because I will use GIS for the basic part, but then I turn it to a pictorial map where I use Adobe Illustrator. Not me personally, I guess someone who does it. Yeah, so we combine technology, IT, the illustration, and also the QGIS and ArcGIS in the mapping software. But for a real project like the one I refer to for the Abadia, of course, even the survey technology was used. They used a drone and they used GPS and all that to pick the data. Because you see, you map with real data when you're dealing with a real space. Yeah. And be safe,
Very
Sandra.
great, very great. Yes, thank you for your concern as well, Kathy. And I think it's very exciting to hear about the tech you're using and the people that you are working with, Sandra in your local community, and Kathy with young kids. I think what impact has the tech that you've been developing, the innovations that you've been developing, what impact has that had on that target audience? Because you've spoken so well about, who you are developing for. Of course, we have the biodiversity that you're protecting, but maybe you can tell us a bit more about the the communities and the spaces that you're working in and the impact it's having directly. When I know, Sandra, it's your local community. You're very passionate about where you're from, so maybe tell us a bit more about the impact that it's having and how you're working with your local community.
So we used to have a fertile land. Let me start from there. And the impact that I'm looking towards is to ensure that I bring back that fertile land and still bring back the green nature that we had and the wildlife. Because right now, at the moment, poaching has been too high. And it's been hectic to control the poaching. And at the same time, we as the community, our harvests have really gone low, and some of our students actually have dropped out because of the challenges of the elephants. We are residing in their corridors. That one we do accept, and that is why it's going to be easy for me to install the gadget in the corridors because it's going to assist both the community taking them back to the life that they used to live, at least harvest the way they used to harvest, kids going to school without the fear of the elephants. And also the elephants, they are going to be safe. At least you're going to have a large number like the way we used to and preserve our heritage as a country. So that is what I'm looking forward to.
That's great. Great example of coexistence innovation. And it's really unfortunate to hear that it's having an impact on young children going to school and crops and agriculture. Your innovation is really helping. I like that you mentioned that we understand we are on the corridors of the elephants and noticing that we have to make sure that as we're protecting and preserving the human side, we also have to make sure that we are doing the same for the elephants and making sure that they can be coexistence and we can have a world where we both both nature and people can exist peacefully, and I think that's really, really great. It's a great testament to working with the community, understanding their problems directly, and then innovating for them and for biodiversity. So thank you so much for sharing that, Sandra. Please, Kathy, let us know more about the young kids that you're helping to nurture and get them understanding of more about maps and getting them to have a new skill set and appreciation for nature.
Yeah, so I've grown up where I do not see animals a lot, but in spaces you see maybe even the monkeys and all that, the more the forest thins, the more you stop seeing animals because they move further and further away and some almost get extinct. So with Kenya Forest Club that I'm a member, we are concentrating more on the greening. And specifically where I live right now, it's called Kieni, but it's also the name of my initiative, Kieni to Flora. Kieni meaning bear, and then Flora the greening. So we are working together with the community because firstly, if we do, the public schools have a lot of space. If we plant the trees there, then over the holidays, because some lack fences, the neighboring community, people come to graze. And as they graze the trees, the young trees are eaten up by the cows and the sheep. So it calls also for educating the community so that they know. Like one school, it's ideal case because the man who comes to graze makes sure the cows are not eating the trees. And we've managed to successfully have around 3 trees growing in the compound. So I'm hoping to have other schools do the same so that the person who accesses to graze before the government can do something about, or the parents of the school do something about the fencing, the trees can continue growing. So we have to work together with the people around us. And also now the children taking up the responsibility when it's dry to do drip irrigation to the trees. And they'll appreciate when they see the transformation from there to having some trees growing and knowing why do we need these trees. Apart even from the birds having space, it's for oxygen and all that. So we give them all those reasons why they need the trees.
Absolutely great. I think working with local communities is so important in innovating. And I like that your initiative is also grounded on that purpose. And I think that's really making sure that we're innovating to actually solve a real problem. And that's really great work that you're doing, Kathy. We know, of course, in innovation, there are always hiccups here and there. There are challenges, of course. In the previous episode, speaking with Inez, she spoke about many times where her gadgets have failed. Some of her data has just gotten wiped off her computer, and it's just very frustrating. And so I'm pretty sure when you're innovating, there are, of course, some challenges that you face. And I think in our space, I think it's very uncommon for people to share, like, hey, here are the hurdles, here are the challenges, here are the hardships, maybe even here are some of the failures that I've experienced. But I think it's so important for us to talk about these because they help us innovate better and they help us to connect with other people doing similar things. And so we can say, hey, I learned from this experience. And so here's what not to do and here's what to do. And so maybe in your experience, let's start with Sandra, maybe in your experience, what are some of the challenges or hurdles or hardships that you faced that you feel that there could be lessons for somebody else developing something similar, or maybe that you've learned that have helped you in the next phase of your innovation?
So my first challenge, being very new into tech and starting the idea from high school, I never thought that one day I'll become an entrepreneur. So I was just like doing it. I just wanted to prove a point. I was like, these are the things that we've been using. So let me see if they can still work if I turn this into reality and add a little bit of tech. So assembling the part itself, it was a whole challenge. Taking the course was a whole challenge because I never knew it was that deep. And at the same time, I was driven by passion. But there are times that I used to feel like I'm giving up because I was like, will this one really work? At times we head to the field when I was doing my second prototype before we finished, and I was feeling like it's a whole challenge because some parts were not working, some parts were already damaged by the rains. So I was like, this is too much. And then it's a solar powered gadget. So anytime there's no sun, you can imagine it won't work. So I really had a challenge, and those were among the things that I was looking forward to work to before I stopped due to some few reasons. Yes.
That's really great to hear that. Noting that as you innovate, transition to an entrepreneur at some point, and it might be a role that maybe feels a bit different than, hey, I started this because I was passionate about solving a problem in my community. Now I'm an entrepreneur and I have to keep innovating and making sure that this product actually works. How do I get it into the market? And so I think a lot of tech for LF innovators resonate with your sentiment, Sandra. And maybe a follow up from that, what have you found that has been helpful in kind of solving some of those challenges or some of those fears? What has helped you and kept you going?
Actually, I learned something from the whole idea that nothing comes easy. You have to be persistent, keep trying. I felt like giving up several times, but the people who were supporting me were like, nothing can just like turn out to work out like immediately. You have to keep trying. So I used to keep trying. And that is what motivates me. And the fact that I really want to be the one solving this problem in our community, because I really miss the land that we had, is just driving me. Yes.
That's really great. So persistent. So people should not be afraid of learning as you go. So even if you face hiccups, just try again and you learn through that process as well. I think that's really great advice for anyone getting started in
Oh,
innovating in tech for them. Go ahead, please.
I forgot to mention being a lady in most of
Uh-huh.
the circumstances or pitches, you just go find yourself, you are young, You are like,
Mm-hmm.
will they really accept my idea? Will they believe in me? As in, is it going to work? How will I
Uh-huh.
convince these people? But in the
Mm-hmm.
process, you happen to have like found people who really encourage you, people who are really ready to work with you, and they're like, we only have
Mm-hmm.
few women in tech. So I was like, oh wow. And from the little that I used to gather from them, I used to
Mm-hmm.
like assemble everything, gather
Mm-hmm.
my courage, and still carry forward. So it has
That's
also helped. It
mhm.
has been a whole challenge, but again, it has been a lesson learned.
That's really great. So you've had people who are supporting you and encouraging you and telling you, even if you enter those spaces where you're pitching your idea, even if you're a young woman, go in with confidence. And have these been other women maybe in the tech space?
Yes, yes, I really met. But now the challenge was I never met someone who we were like the same age. So most of
Uh-huh.
them were like it's either they've been in tech for so long,
Uh-huh.
or it's either they've ventured into tech when they're like they've already like set their bars on the
Mm-hmm.
bases. They
Mm-hmm.
have their finances, they have the whole knowledge. So as for me, I was so new, pitching everything was so new. I really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to turn this now to the real idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a challenge because I was finding people who already knew what they wanted, who already had started what they wanted, they already
Uh-huh.
had everything that they wanted.
Uh-huh.
So maybe they were pitching for something very little, maybe for partners to carry
Mm-hmm.
forward. For me, I was
Mm-hmm.
a startup. Yes.
Ah, that's a really great insight into I think the innovation space as well, and noticing that you're mentioning like you were younger, you're of course coming in like this is the first stage of my innovation. Maybe the other people who are pitching are a bit more advanced. They may be at the final stages of their innovations, and maybe they're older women as well. And so do you think maybe that then reinforces the need of maybe having more young women in such spaces so that other young women who are trying to get into such spaces have peers that they can talk to and share real life experiences and say, hey, I can see somebody else of a similar age who is starting off and I can identify with them. And so it maybe might help in exchanging of experiences and maybe helping somebody to realize that they too can do it. Do you think that it reinforces the idea that having more young women in such spaces would be really important in helping to encourage other young women getting in such spaces, like for example like you now being successful and pioneering in your space. If there's another young woman who wants to get started, they're like, oh, look at Sandra, she's young, she's done this, and I feel like I can reach out to her because our ages aren't that different and we might understand each other better than maybe somebody who's way advanced, way older. Do you think that would be really helpful if people could have younger examples that they could look up to and connect with?
Yes, for me, I feel like that is the world that we should be building by now because most
Mm-hmm.
of these people, most of the grown ups, let me say grown ups or above
Mm-hmm.
age, are
Uh-huh.
retiring. Some of them are leaving. So the whole world actually depends on the younger people, younger women. We have to
Mm-hmm.
change the narrative that it's only men who can do tech. Nothing is very
Absolutely.
difficult in tech. It's
Mm-hmm.
a matter of focusing, being
Mm-hmm.
passionate, and have it in heart. You'll understand what is tech. Just know what you want from tech. And I feel like there's an importance to have the younger people and the younger women involved in this. Yes.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And I think that's a great anecdote, your experience in reinforcing that and helping us to notice that it's so important to have younger people in certain spaces because it then makes that space more, I think, accessible and less scary for other young people who are trying to get in. So thank you so much for sharing that experience, Sandra. I think that's really important for young viewers to actually hear. And it's great having people like you who are in this space already because you're a young mentor for other young people who are wanting to get into this space. But so yeah, Kathy as well, please let us know, have you faced any challenges and how have you overcome those challenges and what do you feel have been your lessons throughout that journey?
Yeah, so firstly, I resonate so much with that story where you're passionate about something and people don't understand what you're trying to do. Now, with our country, Kenya, most of the time, the most common maps are two. When you're getting a map to see your piece of land, when you're getting a title deed and the leasehold. And now currently with the Google Maps. So those are the two times you interact with maps, and maybe now in school when you're doing exams and you have a topographic map. So when I'm venturing or when I started venturing in this since 20, so I was asked why do we need to do this, And it's
Mm.
good for people to understand what to do. So basically for all the 8 books I've done, 7 being on maps, I've invested money from mostly borrowing from the bank. I've spent around $10,000,
Mhm.
which I'm still trying to repay back. And
What?
I'm still not yet there. Yes.
Uh-huh.
One book costs around 1,000 because of the illustrations and all that, the publishing process. And I'm yet to even start distributing to schools because, again, another step is having them assessed by the Curriculum Development Institute, KIC, which also demands for some amount of money, which I'm yet to have. So any assistance would be so helpful. Another thing is still parts of our country, we do not have access to technology, mostly electricity. So as much as we are going tech, I can have books online, but I will still not reach some communities in Kenya. So I still have to invest on print books, then I supply them to the different areas. So the two challenges, mostly my challenge is people understanding what I'm doing. Actually, at the moment, I think I'm the only one in Africa focusing on children mapping, children cartography, but I'm not going to stop. I know other people will come on board, and I'm already looking to contacting Sandra because I love her energy and I know we can work together. I completed a course on project planning for wildlife conservation. It was amazing because I was now able to see this bit of my work has been a work package and these have been different threads and all that. I didn't know how to package it like that. So thank you so much, WILDLABS, for that. I got my certificate yesterday. I'm excited for that achievement. So the main challenge has been that people understand what is this that you're trying to do and also how to get it out to all. Because most parts like West Pokot and so many other parts of Kenya still do not have access to technology and especially electricity.
That's really great for you to share, Kathy. And I think, you're bringing in the realities of tech in our part of the world. I think, there's some issues maybe that we need to also address. And you said like access to electricity. Right now, because of the heavy rains, I think that has been a constant challenge even in Nairobi as well. And, how do you reach audiences that maybe don't have access to virtual spaces where they can access your books virtually? And so you have to then invest in getting your books printed and having them in print, and that being quite a challenge and quite expensive to get access to. And thank you for sharing more about how you found valuable resources on WILDLABS. It's a space where our communities can share programs and can share resources with the rest of the community that they can benefit from, and most of those resources are of course free resources to make sure that the tech for wildlife communities is getting their hands on information and tools that can help them grow their work. So it's great to hear that there's something that was shared that was of value to you. And I think maybe closing off now, Kathy, you can let us know, how do people connect with you? Where do people find you? How can they connect and get access to your books? Anyone who wants to maybe support or learn more about your work, where can they find you? How can they access the resources that you're developing?
Yes, I'm on social media, and luckily, if you just Google my name, Catherine Njore, you'll be able to reach my other social handles, but I'll share them with you. And also, I sell through the website of my publisher, Intercept Publishing. But the second you just Google Catherine Njore, you'll have a drop down of so much of my information. Yes.
Very great. Sandra, the same as well to you. Where can people find you? Where can they learn more about your innovation? How can they connect and support?
So you can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, just with my name, Sandra Maryanne. Yes.
Absolutely
On
great.
YouTube
And
too, via short interviews that Sandra Maryanne NdovuCare. Yes.
absolutely great. And of course, I'll be putting links in the description on the video so that people can connect with you and the work that you've done and the websites that, speak more about your work, and of course your WILDLABS accounts as well if they want to connect with you in the Tech for WILDLABS community. But thank you so much, ladies, for making time for us to have this chat. I think there's so many important insights that you've shared on getting started and innovating, having that purpose-driven mindset of this is the challenge I'm seeing in my community. How do I innovate to kind of solve this, and how can tech help to make the solutions more effective? And I think something that you can scale as well. And Sandra sharing her experience, going into those rooms to pitch and being a bit fearful and noticing the need to have other young mentors and other young people in such spaces to act as, I think connections that can help you think about the future and speak about, some of the challenges and get some great insights and experience. And I love that Kathy mentioned some of those tech challenges that maybe we are not taking into consideration, thinking about virtual spaces, who has access to them, electricity as the bare minimum, and thinking about maybe as we develop tech for wildlife innovations, maybe we think about the infrastructure as well in our communities. Is there tech infrastructure that has been established to make sure that it acts as a foundation for the innovations that we're putting together? And so you've shared some amazing insights, and I'm sure our community and beyond will be excited to read more about the work that you're doing and connect with you. And absolutely wishing you the best, Kathy, as you go through your presentation, and Sandra as you get into the next steps of developing your innovation further. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And that is the end of our In Conversation series, season 1, across East Africa. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you to Esther.
Thanks so much for joining our episode today. You can catch more In Conversation episodes by tapping on the link in the description below. Let us know down in the comments where should we go next. Until next time, see you on WILDLabs.